Welcome back, everybody. We are here with our roundtable discussion on inflammaging. This is a new term that's hit the market, but a very relative one for a time such as this. And Joe and I were just chatting about that a little bit. So with me today to discuss this pandemic of oxidative stress in our nation is Jamie Dorley, CEO and owner of Nutritional Frontiers and the Weiner Wellness Center, and Joe Messino, aka the Godfather of Nutrition. So guys, welcome back. It was good to see you. It's only been a few hours.
Yeah, we're excited to be back again, Joe. It's been a long time.
We kick it off and we end it. Yeah, we're the bookends.
Every time you try to get out,
and pull me back in.
That's right. So this is an interesting topic. And Jamie, I'll let you start. Inflammaging. I know you've probably done some research on it. What does this all mean to our industry?
Well, I think we always look at, in our community running for the cure. Dr. Weiner and us, we always talk about running for the cause. And the underlying cause of all chronic disease, and some acute, is a chronic inflammatory response. That could be low, mid, or high intensity. However, it's a chronic inflammatory response, not an acute where you have a trauma or an injury. The actually trauma or injury is usually something that we're exposed to, usually by choice. It could be a medication. Oftentimes it's food. Look at the pro-inflammatory foods out there. Look at overall stress people are exposed to, right? It could even be, poor supplementation, right? So people have this low-grade inflammatory response, and this is the underlying cause. You look at all of cardiovascular disease, right? It starts with an inflammatory response, and the body's reaction is cholesterol and things like that build up over time. But the underlying cause, if you looked at one thing that is across the board for all chronic disease, it has to be that pro-inflammatory response.
Yeah, and the triggers are, as you said, multiple, and they compound all the time. And the triggers, even if it was an injury, if it's one of those nagging injuries, if it's an injury you don't let heal, then it progresses and progresses and progresses and starts causing other things. So it can come chemically. It could come from emotional stress. It could come from physical stress. It could come from invisible stress, which is electromagnetic field radiation too. So all of these things, and they compound. And that's why we're in, this state of health that we are in this country.
Well, I think we're seeing even younger people with so much oxidative stress that they are now being diagnosed with conditions and illnesses that my grandfather, used to have. So we have kids with cardiovascular issues. We have kids with blood pressure issues, with cholesterol issues. And all of those are responses to inflammation, not causes of inflammation. So this inflammation and inflammaging is hitting us younger and younger. And, some of those stress sources that you were talking about, like food sources, like environmental toxins, like electromagnetic frequencies, they're all part of it. But just an overall unhealthy lifestyle. I mean, you could even talk about sleep and causing inflammation in the body. So kind of make that connection for our audience, because I think they're looking at tangible things when it can really be things that aren't as tangible.
Right. Well, it's really lack of sleep, because with lack of sleep, your body doesn't heal properly. It doesn't make the chemicals and the hormones that you need and the growth hormone that you need to heal. That goes right back to HGH and the whole athlete issue and performance enhancing drugs. I've always said that it didn't enhance performance. It enhanced health. They heal faster. They grow faster. That's what growth hormone does. But if you don't sleep, you don't make it and you don't heal. So
you don't detoxify properly. You don't heal properly. Your body's biochemistry is not back in sync. You're not making hormones properly, right? So there's been many studies proven about people overweight, cardiovascular disease, all as a cause of not sleeping properly, because you're not getting all that recovery and the repair going on that we often take for granted, right? Yeah. That's one of the great things about changing your lifestyle, is that you could change what your body is, because your body's constantly in the manufacturing process of all the tissue, all the biochemistry, all the chemicals, all the hormones. And if you're not getting that proper sleep, then you're going to have a breakdown somewhere along the lines. I think a lot of these things that we talk about today, they're not immediate impact, right? So it's cumulative, right? So people can go without sleep for a night, a week, a year, whatever it may be. Same thing with eating something poor. It doesn't kill them. Even I always say, if people went to McDonald's and they fell down in the parking lot, maybe they would understand the impact of what they're doing. Same thing with someone who smokes cigarettes. It's the same thing. They don't see that initial result today. They don't see that how that compounds over days, weeks, months, or even years, because that's where you get that cumulative effect of the damage.
Right.
And now the body's response is pro-inflammation.
Yeah, and then what you have is people that they do these lifestyles over the course of years, decades, and then something hits them and they think, man, you always hear that came out of nowhere. Well, no, it didn't. It's been building and building and building in your body, in your cells, systemically for decades.
And I think people feel that it's a normal result of aging, right?
That's really what they're told by their doctor. Oh, you're just getting old. That's normal.
That's a big one, guys. Talk about that a little bit. Like, all these things are normal as part of aging. And, I don't see them as normal, but they're acceptable, right? They're accepted as part of aging.
That's correct.
Well, if that's the case, then why are people in their 20s and teens getting some of these pro-inflammatory states, obesity, diabetes, arthritis, autoimmune conditions? In fact, Robert Scott Bell shared with us his story of how he was getting diseases normally set in your 50s, 60s, and 70s in his teens and early 20s, right? Yeah. And I think that was a great wake-up call for him. However, most people have accepted that this has nothing to do with their lifestyle. Because if you look at the lifestyles now of younger adults or even older adults, just people in general, I mean, this would never existed years ago.
No, I mean,
the sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
I was driving through with my daughter yesterday, and she had mentioned, there's a school, right? And I says, when I grew up, all the elementary schools were in the neighborhoods.
That's right. We walked to them.
We had 7 elementary schools where I lived, because you would walk to them, and that was for the community. And each one had a ball field, a park, an area to run around in. Mm-hmm. Now they've done this conglomeration. So it starts just with activity levels, right? Folks, body fat, we used to think of it being metabolically inert. Actually, it contains a lot of hormones, the pro-inflammatory hormones. So if you're sedentary, you're not at least able to walk to the school. Mm-hmm. You're not able to play on the playgrounds. You're not into the ball and those types of things. Right away, you got 2 strikes against you. Now, if you add in a pro-inflammatory diet, let's talk about that, Tracy, because I think some people take it for granted what they're eating doesn't have an impact on their health. The only thing in terms of weight. Mm-hmm. So you got someone like Philly Phil who's in great shape. He may not realize that the food he's eating, even though it may not affect his weight today, it can be pro-inflammatory, which would affect his health down the road.
Right.
Well, that's that skinny fat complex that we see a lot too.
Oh, poor Phil, he's skinny fat.
No, I didn't mean Phil. I just mean we see it.
Yeah, somebody like that.
He's going to be putting stuff up on the screen we don't want if we don't be nice to him. So he's like our super Phil, like Super Don. But yeah, Jamie's right. It's that slow effect. Right. So you have this first innate response of the immune system. And then if we don't take care of the issue, it becomes adaptive. We start making antibodies, and then we start getting that cytokine storm that we've heard about. And then it becomes oxidative stress. And we can talk about toxicity, but we also need to talk about deficiency, not getting the right nutrients. It's not just about the inflammation of the food that we're taking in, which is a huge part of it. So if we're taking processed gluten, we're taking dairy in that's processed. We can say those are inflammatory because they're toxic. They contain antibiotics. They contain hormones. They contain glyphosate. But then we can look at the other side and be like, but they're deficient in K2, and they're deficient in probiotics, and deficient in enzymatic activity, and they're deficient in B vitamins, because that glyphosate takes the place of many of the B vitamins on that methylation pathway when you spray it on wheat. And then when the animals eat that product, right, that wheat or that corn that's been sprayed, now they become deficient and toxic. So it has this massive trickle down effect. And people are commenting in the chat box, like, go vegetarian. You could also say, go keto, go paleo. It's really individualized. And while I agree a vegetarian diet is very healthy, I know a lot of vegetarians, and I'm not saying this person in particular, but I know a lot of vegetarians that are pastatarians, that don't combine the nutrients appropriately and are B12 deficient or just deficient in other ways. So what do you guys say about that?
Well, look,
wait, is that a prostitarian? I haven't heard that before.
I said pastatarian.
Oh, pasta.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's hard to pick up.
It's those headphones, Joe. You know,
if you go,
buds.
if you go, look, there's vegetarians that are not eating organic. So
correct.
They're toxic and they're deficient because we know it takes 10 servings of fruits and vegetables to equal one of 50 years ago for nutrient content.
Right.
So you add that deficiency to the toxic chemicals on these vegetables. If you're a vegetarian, you more than anyone need to go organic.
Yeah, let's talk about it for some people out there that may not have the background like Dr. Sauter does. That's saying to go vegetarian. He's a close friend of mine, PhD. This guy is one of the smartest guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he really promotes that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about some of the foods and why they're pro-inflammatory. Let's just start with something simple like pro-inflammatory fats, right?
Yeah.
These are fats that are going to create a lot of inflammation. So where do you find those? You find them in any fried foods.
Yeah, all fried
any
foods.
Processed foods.
Anything that's in a hydrogenated oil. And any oil or fat, anything that's refined is hydrogenated. It doesn't have to say hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated on it. If it's refined, it is.
So
and that means it's a
hold
poison.
back. Let's talk about some of the names. Obviously, we look out the window. We're in fast food alley.
Right.
So everything we can see out the window, from the gas station to Mickey D's.
Oh, I heard, Jamie, the world lives on Dunkin', right? So there's so many out there.
Yeah, right down the road, right? You got everything there, Wendy's, Arby's, the whole deal. So obviously fast foods are pro-inflammatory, right? So what that means is that they create the building blocks for inflammation in your body, right? And then you had mentioned earlier, I love the point, not only are they toxic, they have no nutrient value at all. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when somebody says, I'm eating fruits and veggies, but they may not be organic. I says, eat them, right? Because at least they have some nutrient content. When you're eating the fast foods, they are pro-inflammatory just based on the fats alone.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful of pro-inflammatory fats, where if you look at the opposite, we do have anti-inflammatory fats. And what kind of foods would you find those in?
We're going to find those in pure wild-caught fish. Best place to find
so
good
fish
fat.
would be number one.
Number one. Grass-fed beef products would be number two. Pastured poultry and eggs. All great sources of good fat. And not only
nuts,
good fat, good
coconut
protein.
oil.
Nuts, coconut
avocados.
oil. Yep.
Yeah.
Here's a good rule of thumb. Here's a good rule of thumb with oils. If you can eat it in its natural state, use the oil. Like you can eat an olive, you can use olive oil. You can eat an avocado, use avocado oil. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot eat a canola. Do not use canola oil.
Oh, they said cannoli. I was like, cannoli.
Totally different.
Yes.
So we need good fats. That's the first place you start, and people got really misunderstood, right? And they got brainwashed a little bit in the 80s when we talked about these fat-free diets, right? Because what happens is they pull the fats out and they lumped all the fat together. The whole theory behind this,
right? And
we know who promoted this, right?
Yeah, the sugar industry.
Exactly. The whole theory behind this, well, if you don't eat fat, you won't become fat, and you won't have cardiovascular disease.
Right.
So here we are 40 years later after that experiment. And how'd that experiment go?
Let's see. We're fat, and cardiovascular disease is still the number one killer.
And diabetic, right?
And diabetes, yeah.
So the percent of success would be what?
0.0.
Our favorite number, 0.0 success. And not only that, it actually made people a lot fatter, right? So folks, fats are so important to your body. Your brain is mostly fat. So when someone calls you a fathead, take it as a compliment, right? There's always a compliment there somewhere.
Yeah.
So the brain's fats, the eyes, the nervous system. Not only that, if you go back to 7th grade science class, I had Mr. Bergsoff, one of the hardest teachers ever. But what he did was
he remembers every single teacher's name he's ever had. It doesn't matter
because he's a fathead.
only the classes I went to, Joe.
Oh,
so,
okay.
There must have been a cute girl in there.
There's always at least one, right? So you always remember drawing that cell, right? And I always wonder, well, why would I need this? But the cell membrane, all the fluid inside the cell, is a cell membrane is made of fat.
That's right.
And we need that to be about 10% omega-3s. because that way the cells become fluid, robust, and healthy. If you looked at them under a microscope, they would look more like a grape, nice and full, healthy, and alive. Where when you start having some of these cardiovascular issues and inflammatory issues, those cells, they lose the elasticity. They lose the omega-3 inside the cell. They become harder and they shrink up and more rigid. They look more like a raisin.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to hydrate our cells with omega-3s. Something very simple is changing the diet, right? And I like to incorporate omega-3s from supplements. So my favorite is the omega-3 liquid. It's real easy. Shoot it in your mouth, swallow it down. You get a high dose of omega-3s. Tastes great, and it's very therapeutic. Tracy, what omega-3s or essential fats you like to supplement with?
I like the 2800 for my kids by Nutritional Frontiers, the omega 2800. But I also like the omega D3 because then I get vitamin D as well, especially in the winter when we don't have a lot of sun. So I like those both.
We got a comedian out here, Dr. Sauna here, the PhD.
He should be on our. He should be on our Winter Wellness Summit, maybe as a speaker.
Bring him in. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's got an incredible story because he did have lupus, as he's mentioning, inflammation. He went on a vegetarian diet. This is actually a gentleman that had COVID, and I shipped him out the COVID protocol from Nutritional Frontiers, which is the Cinchona, Super Zinc, Immunomax, vitamin D, and vitamin C. And he went to go see his doctor, his autoimmune specialist. The guy looked at his file and said, "You had COVID?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "How long were you in the hospital for?" He said, "I can't believe you're still alive." He says, "I'm alive and I didn't go to the hospital." And he dropped the file down and he said, "What did you do?" He said, "Nutritional Frontiers." He said, "It must be a miracle." He says, "No, it's Nutritional Frontiers." So
science.
Thanks for joining us, Todd, and I'm glad that you're doing real well and healthy as ever right now.
That's right.
You know, it's not a miracle. It's science. It's functional nutrition. That's what we do. You know, supply the body with what it needs to function.
Well, what is
properly.
a miracle? A miracle is something you're not used to seeing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, in that doctor's eyes, maybe it was, right?
Yeah.
So, the omega-3s are so important for the health of every cell in your body. We're not talking just one. We're talking everything. That's why, have you ever heard omega-3s for brain, heart, joint, skin, hormones, sex? I mean,
Sure.
everything.
Everything. I mean, we can go back to, you know, we've talked about this for years. It has to be at least 20 years now when that mine collapsed and those guys were trapped. And the one guy they said was absolutely brain dead, never be back. Well, they gave him 15,000 milligrams, so 15 grams of omega-3s daily. And he regained all neurological function.
That's unbelievable.
There's your miracle right there.
And they've always talked about the brain not being able to regenerate.
Mm-hmm.
That's been disproven. The brain can regenerate.
Yes.
So there's still hope for us, Joe.
Yeah, well, we keep battling it from the other side too. But
so,
you know.
What essential fats do you prefer from Nutritional Frontiers or any of your other favorite companies?
Yeah, you know, I've always loved the liquid because I just swig it out of the bottle. I don't measure it in a spoon. I just take a shot and swig it right down because it tastes that good. You know, I've seen people that actually use it on their salads.
Yes.
Right? They can use it right on your salad, you know, as your oil, as your salad dressing. So I love the liquid. You know, I could. The soft gels are good too when you're traveling. They're the best. Yeah. But I'll take the liquid any day. I love it.
You're also getting the essential fats in the Power Cleanse and greens, right? So you get it in some of the shakes too. So you got to make sure you start with good fat. So if you learn anything today, cut out the fast food. Would you? I mean, at this day and age, everybody knows it's not healthy, right? Cut the fast food out. I mean, years ago, I would tell people, you can go to Subway and get a salad. And I found out there's
nothing
chicken
in there is
soy.
fresh.
Yeah, it's not chicken. It's soy chicken. So I don't know. You ever seen the soy chicken?
No.
Good. You don't want to. It's not real pleasant to look at and not real healthy.
And that's such a great point. Cut out the fast food because I've seen, you know, you get these posts on social media and someone will post a picture of something they got at like McDonald's. Look at this. Can you believe this? And someone said, well, which McDonald's is that? And another person said, well, maybe you should take it back or maybe you should get something else. And finally I said, enough.
If this doesn't,
just don't go there.
Go to one of our doctors or go on YouTube and look up picture of McDonald's and they actually put it in the case and they save it.
Yeah.
And how does it look 2, 3, 4, 5 years later.
The same as it did when they put it in.
Yeah. Even the bun doesn't break down. So
They
I
must
won't be
be
able to use my free coupon for getting my COVID shot if I don't go there. How will I get my free
Krispy Kreme
donut?
donut. Yeah.
oh, we'll give you a free donut. Don't worry.
But isn't that interesting that they would use that propaganda, right? The most unhealthy propaganda to elicit something that they were saying to bestow the health and love your neighbor and get this and boost your immunity with this jab was so counterproductive and contrary to the actual truth. But people, I don't know, Jamie, it just surprises me. I mean, in our little town here, our Long John Silver's, and we have
that's
about
still
50
around, Long John Silver. Right. Oh my
Now check
God.
this out, right? Now I don't this was when it was hopping, right? It's probably about 10 years ago these stats came out. We were in the top 10 of the highest volume of a town of 50,000 people. We had the highest volume out of in the United States. I was like, hold
you mean of people that went to Long John Silver's?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we were in the top 10.
They don't like fish, Joe, because
that's
no
right.
Fish
They didn't like Arby's.
Message.
Right. So it surprises me the volume that people spend in money on fast food, and the chronic health issues that we have. And you're right. They know better. I mean, who honestly would you walk up to and say, hey, is McDonald's healthy? And would say yes. It's amazing. So I just don't know if it's just lack of just
Look,
don't want
people
to put in the
talk
work.
about their money all the time for buying supplements and eating healthy. You know what? Whatever money you have in your budget, go to Whole Foods and get a salad, right? There are restaurants you can get a salad. Make your own salad. There's many times I'll go there, get the spinach, buy some good organic veggies, and you make your own salad. You can probably get 3, 4, 5 salads out of that $20 investment. So that there's no reason why you can't do it nowadays. There's plenty of options out there. So first thing is no more fast food, right? The second part,
I was just going to say, it's not even just fast food, because if you start eating a particular way, like I've been buying pastured eggs from this particular farm for a couple of years now, and they're the only ones we have at home. And this past Sunday, just yesterday, I went out to breakfast with my granddaughter, and we went to what I would consider an upper level breakfast place. It wasn't anything bad. It was that place in Green Tree above Denny's, right? Yeah. Not bad. They're usually good quality. But I got to tell you, I got eggs, and man, not good. Not good. I mean, not only taste, it didn't taste that bad, but God, it went right through me. I mean, I know that's a little graphic, but still, the point is, when you're not used to that stuff and you go and eat it, it tells you why you shouldn't.
Yeah, your body's telling you something. If that's
telling
the case,
you something, right?
So I recommend people eat at home or find independent restaurants.
Independents are good. Yeah.
Where you know the owner, you can see what they're using for ingredients.
And that guy, he lost his place, that Papa Gallo.
Yeah.
It's just shame, yeah.
So the other thing to do is look at the supplementation, right? Because you can take that on the road with you.
Yeah.
So the first thing we look at is bad fats. Second thing is fast food. The third thing is, what are you drinking every day? Right? It's amazing what people are drinking, especially when they're out. The size of the drinks, the sugar content, the caffeine content, the artificial flavors. So drink pure water whenever you can. It's okay to have a coffee or a tea now and then, right? But also a great way to prevent suffering. So many people complain that water is so boring. Ever hear that? They're suffering from flavor fatigue. Use one of the Pro Colors to help give a little nutrient content and taste to your water.
Exactly.
So we got the reds, greens, oranges, and purples. And these are all anti-inflammatory additions to your water.
Right.
There's no reason why.
Nutrient-dense additions to your water. I mean, fortify your water. There's no better way to do it than with the Pro Colors. So now you can have water that is at its base good for you. Now you turn it into something.
Yeah, you want to spice your water up a little bit. I mean, some of these hotels you'll see, they'll put cucumbers in it. They'll put strawberries. They'll just soak it in
Citrus
there. Put that
fruits.
in your fridge with some pure water and some ice. Make it fun. Everyone's in a big rush. I mean, take your time. Make it fun. Make sure you're not being punished, but you're giving a reward to yourself with some good nutrients. You know, and if you go out of something, you want something a little more exciting. I do the Pellegrino and limes, right? Looks good. It's a little more fun. But, you know, what you drink is really important because your body's about 70% water. What else is 70% water?
The earth.
Oh. So as Joe said, there are no coincidences, right?
No.
So water, fast food, supplementation, all key components. So Tracy, well, it has to be dairy or sugar, probably the thing that you see people coming into you that they eat the most that you know they need to get rid of. So is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just, they think things are healthy. I mean, think about it. 10 years ago, right? If you had a bagel with cream cheese, that was almost like a luxury food, and it got this idea of being healthy, but it was processed dairy and gluten. You know, sugar took over, especially kids. Kids just get bombarded with sugars. And, you know, any activity where kids are present, there's no good foods. I haven't been to one place that promotes kid fun that's like, and here's some veggies too. You know, my kids are in sports. We go to baseball fields, the concession stands, they're junk. You go to trampoline parks, junk. Birthday parties, junk. Any place. There's no place that you can go that actually promotes like health and health. Because activity is healthy, right? But then they just crush it. And then even when clients come in, they have a really hard time giving it up. You know, and my line is like, well, it's not bad enough yet. When it gets bad enough, you'll give up anything. But right now it's not bad enough. So if you want to continue drinking your Diet Coke or your sugar laden, Kool-Aid or whatever they're drinking every day, you know, I'm just like, I can't work with that and try to get results that you're looking for. So sugar's a big one.
Tracy, I was just want to say, I want to add to that because, you know, when we were kids, if you went to a birthday party, it was okay to have a little junk because it was once. It wasn't your daily activity or intake. If you went to the ball field and you had a great game and afterwards everybody went to Dairy Queen, okay, but you weren't doing that every day of your life without the activity. Now, that's not the treat anymore. It's just the norm. That's
the norm. And who used to cook all the meals when we were kids?
Our mom.
Yeah.
Fresh food every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner were all cooked. I mean, if we went out to eat, I barely remember. It usually was going to my aunt's house or something. It wasn't like you would go out to a restaurant.
Once a year, maybe. You got a treat. It's your birthday.
If
that really is probably started like, you know, like when I was younger, when both parents started to work and the household meals went downhill. You know, there was no more. We still had Sunday dinner, but it wasn't everyday dinner. And now with the sports, you know, what we try to do in our house is cook breakfast. Make sure we give the kids lunch if they're home, you know, for the summer. And then dinner. If we know we have practice early, we eat early. That way we're eating at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. They go to practice at 5:30. And when they come back, they may have second dinner, which is fine, but it's still cooked. Or they'll have a light snack and then go to bed. But that's not how parents are doing it now. They throw the kids in the car and Jamie, what do? They run them through McDonald's on their way to practice. And every once in a while, that's okay. I'm not judging busy parents. But it does take a lot of planning, budgeting, and time to live in this society now, because I can tell you, we are at baseball fields 3 to 4 times a week. And if I don't put some parameters down for my kids and be like, nope, you can't have, fun dips every single time. No, you can't have Gatorades every single time. Like I have to put in parameters, but still get my kids to, still allow them to be kids. It's difficult. So I do realize there are parents out there that maybe don't know that Gatorade isn't good. So it's not, it's a neurotoxin, but there's people that just don't know. I think sometimes we assume people know and they don't.
Or they think it's a step above a Coke or a Pepsi, and they, okay, maybe it is, but it's still not good. That's, I think, where the problems, it's the degree of, their understanding of these things. Yeah.
Absolutely. You took away the caffeine, which is a diuretic, but you added in, yellow 60 and red 40 and all the other neurotoxins.
Yeah, but when we played ball, we were able to go to the water fountain and slurp it up.
It was called the hose, Joe. If we were lucky. Yes. If we were lucky. And actually, I'm being serious.
I know.
That was a reward, was a water break.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You didn't get one just because it was a certain time, And,
my mom wouldn't let us back in the house. Once we were outside, we were allowed in the kitchen, and we had a water jug and a bowl of carrots and celery that sat in water. That's what we could grab. We were allowed to grab that. That was it. So To this day, I cannot eat carrots and celery. It's
that explains a lot, Joe. We're getting all the insight here. That explains a lot of what's going on. So.
I remember that green linoleum running into my kitchen, getting my water. But yeah, so, and we were outside until the street lights came on. We weren't allowed in the house. We weren't sitting around playing video games. We weren't allowed. So we were out.
I mean, and adults, I think, are even worse at this whole thing because, you know, yeah, they're eating the fast food too. They're eating the chemical laden foods too. But now, if you're 60 years old or older, the average person's on 12 different medications. So talk about stress and toxicity that you're putting into your body on top of everything else, all those medications.
Yeah, that's the scary part when you start looking at the amount of medications people accept that they're taking every day, right? And that's the opportunity you have is come to the Wine and Wellness Center, schedule an appointment with Ashley Rozzi, Dr. Orbach, we have Dr. Phil. So schedule with a healthcare professional, schedule with Joe to come in, do some evaluation, and we can help customize a program for you and show you how simple it is to structure a program that fits your schedule, your budget, and your goals, right? Everyone's got a little bit different goals, but I guarantee we can actually reduce your food bill and improve your health if you just give us an opportunity to do so. Because if you look at one of the foods that people overall think is healthy, just had this discussion over the weekend, is dairy products, right? Right. Milk, cheese, ice cream, yogurt. I was talking to someone at the Wellness Week the other day, and they had some skin issues, and I said, dairy, I don't do any dairy. I said, well, let me ask, well, I don't do any. They were doing creamers in their coffee 3-4 times a day, right? Which are loaded with soy and chemicals, and that may be the one thing that would make your body inflamed. And I told the story 100 times, but I'll tell it one more. I had a woman come in. I got her kid great results with ADD, with the Neuromax and fish oil. She came in. She was a really attractive younger woman, and she just looked a little tired. Just say tired, right? You know, the skin didn't look great, a little bit of bags under the eyes. And she came in. I was like, oh, why are you coming in? How's your kid doing? Oh, she's doing great. I said, what's going on with you? And it wasn't a weight thing. She pulled her hair around. She had about a quarter size bald spot on her head. And when we started talking about her diet, she says, I don't need to lose weight. I said, I know, but you're toxic. Your liver's congested. I said, you're using something that's pro-inflammatory. When we went through, it took me about 15 minutes to get deep with her. And she said, oh, yeah, I do 2 of those Starbucks extra large Frappuccino Mocha Latte. And when I looked it up, about 80 grams of fat. Yeah. Her liver was congested.
2, in 1 month. Man.
Yeah, 2 a day. And it was about $8, right? 4 something a piece. So I figured $10 a day, right? Same person that gave me a hard time about Neuromax for $40, right? So we talked, and I said, look, just remove them. You'll save $10 a day. Okay, I'm going to put you on the Candy Kill, a probiotic, and a fish oil. That's it. And in 1 month, when she came back, the hair started growing back again. That's how inflammatory some of these things are that people accept as no problem. Right. When I started looking at those drinks that people are getting, they're loaded with sugar and hydrogenated fats. So Tracy, talk about why that would affect the liver so much.
What, hydrogenated fats?
Yeah, the creamers and the dairy and too much of those heavy drinks from Starbucks, those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just going to cause an inflammatory response, and your liver has a lot of responsibility for filtering out and cleaning out your body. So it's going to become congested. It's not going to be able to do the things it needs to do. And then, of course, we have the 6 essentials for the liver that you're not going to get, including iodine and iron and all those nutrients that are not in Starbucks coffees. So we want to make sure that we stay healthy and clean with our diet with a little bit of fun. I mean, obviously, Joe, we don't want to come down on people just for, living life. But yeah, that does become congested. We're getting the wrong immunological response. We're getting the wrong adaptive and innate response. And we talked about that. Some of the things that people are wondering is if they're already inflamed, like substantially, and they have a diagnosis, okay? Whatever diagnoses you want to get, like your friend here, he was diagnosed with lupus when truly, once he changed his diet, those inflammatory factors came down. So if somebody does have a diagnosis that, has an inflammation backbone to it, what are some more targeted products you could recommend or nutrition you could recommend for them to bring some of those factors down?
Yeah, first thing I do is recommend our inflammation food program, which is Todd's following. It's more vegetarian based. It's got veggies. It has fruit. It has whole foods, right? So you got things like good nuts and seeds, and some lean, natural proteins, such as what? We can use wild beef, right? Grass-fed beef.
Grass-fed beef.
You can use wild fish. You can use organic chicken. So the inflammation food program, which is on our website, we also have copies here, is the first thing I do. It gets you off all processed foods, gets you off the pro-inflammatory foods, and it gets you on the right food base. Then I always start with the essential fatty acids. So I like a good foundation, omega-3 2800 by Nutritional Frontiers, as the foundation to help rebuilding the good fats and starting to cool down the inflammation. So Joe, what are some of the more targeted nutrients that you like in addition to the diet and the omega-3?
In addition to that, when you need really good targeted anti-inflammatory action, there's nothing better than X-Flame. It has multiple mechanisms of action. It's not just an herbal. It's not just an ester 5 fatty acid. It has DMG in it as well. There's many components, and I think that's why we get so much good success with it, is because it attacks it from different levels. So, there's a lot of people out there that love turmeric. They want to use that just by itself. Well,
it's in there.
It's in there. Why use it by itself when it's in the X-Flame? So the X-Flame has to be at the top of the list for me when it comes to inflammatory response. If you're using X-Flame, if you're using omega-3D or omega-2800, you've got a powerful 1-2 punch. If you can eliminate the causes on top of it from your food, the chemicals you ingest, your environment, if you can eliminate those and then add in the anti-inflammatory powerhouses, now you
one caveat, you got to take your time to change this, right? It's a big ship you got to turn, right? So just because your blood test or now you've been diagnosed, you had some symptoms with RA or lupus, whatever it may be, it didn't start today. It was been building for probably months or years, right? So you got to give your body a good 3 to 4 months. Doesn't mean it'll take that long to see results, but give your body time. I don't want to steal your thunder, Tracy. I know you have a big presentation this week on it, but can you talk a little bit on the SPMs and the role of inflammation? Because this is probably the hottest formula we have. It's brand new, and Tracy's done a tremendous amount of research on this.
Yeah, and before we touch on that just a little bit, Jamie, one of the things that I like to add for inflammatory protocols is Live Clear or Live Clear 2. And I know you guys are big on that in liver health. And as you're talking, about sugar, it does create a fatty liver. And we see that a lot. And I see that a lot more lately is this non-alcoholic fatty liver. And I don't think people understand that. So before I jump to SPMs, can you just clarify what that is? Because this is a big diagnosis I'm seeing a lot. And it's really called I eat too much sugar fatty liver. That's what it's called. But
and too much processed fats. That's a great point. Right. So I hear that every week. People say, I start talking to them. They go, oh, how'd you know I have a fatty liver? It's like, you can see it, right? So what happens is that a lot of these man-made fats, these trans fats, these hydrogenated fats, they're not able to be processed out of the body. So the liver is a filter, and it's trying to filter out these fats, and it can't because they're not structured properly to be able to filter it out. So what happens is they start to build up in the liver. When you combine that with a high-fat diet, that's the cause of triglycerides, right? Where sugar and fat meet. I look at that as maybe an important marker than I do even cholesterol, is triglycerides. So now these fat cysts are starting to accumulate in the liver. And then they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Why? Because they're not drinking, but they're showing the same signs as early stage liver failure or cirrhosis. That's how toxic these foods are. So you have a combination of two things going on. One is you have too many toxins coming in, and the second part, the inability to keep up and clean them out. Reminds me of the old I Love Lucy show. You know which episode, Joe?
Of course.
Lucy's going to get the job. She works in the chocolate factory. The old German woman slowly turned up the machine. At first, she can inspect the chocolates, but after a while, there's too many coming. She's putting them in her mouth, in her hair, in her bra, in her pants. Yeah. And then it's like they're accumulating because she can't keep up. That's a very simplified version of what's going on in the body when you have more toxins coming in than your ability to clean it up. Right. And this is a really serious issue. We like to have fun with it, but this is becoming a huge problem in our country. It's not going away at any time soon. I was just talking to a woman down there, and she says, well, what do you do for weight loss? And I didn't give a baritone a seal. I gave a power cleanse. You know what she said? I have a fatty liver. It's like, yeah, well, if you have fatty everything else, the liver is going to be fat too. And I've been there. I get it. You got to do the liver cleanse with the power cleanse, the Live Clear, those types of things, in addition to the anti-inflammatory diet. Somebody has a question, who should come in to see Inflammation Protocol? I would say Ashley Rossi, but anybody. Right?
Anyone, yeah. Come on in. We'll get you paired up with the practitioner that will meet your needs the best. You know, we have lots of diagnostic tools and devices. They don't diagnose any disease states, but they tell you what's going on in your body, toxicity-wise and nutrient deficiency-wise. So we can do it with Zyto. We can do it with the Oligo Scan. You know, there's just a number of ways to get started. Just give us a call. We'll fit you with the right person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was awesome because I think it is a bigger problem than we realize, and people just accept it and they don't think there's anything they can do about it. So there are some simple things dietary that you can do.
Yeah, just think about this for a minute, right? So the doctor's telling you you have a disease that's normally associated with an alcoholic, but you don't drink, right? So think about that for a minute, right? If you really sat down and listened to what the doctor said, they're telling you your liver is really sick, usually equated for somebody who consumes too much alcohol, but you're not even drinking. Doesn't that pop the question in your head? Why? Why is my liver congested? Why is it fatty? Folks, this is not something that was flying through the air that you caught. This is something you ingested that's building up in your liver. So it could be processed food. It could be over-the-counter medications. It could be a lot of things, but I guarantee it's probably tied into what you're eating and drinking.
Absolutely. And sugar's at the heart of it. You know, sugar's at the heart of it with alcohol. Sugar's at the heart of it with these processed, highly, chemical laden foods. I mean, this morning, Dr. Len said number one food additive in the entire country, high fructose corn syrup. There it is right there. You don't even know.
And the part that's exciting for me and our team is that we're approaching weight loss as we evolve in a different manner, right? I already see Tracy's eyes going like for the end of this year and next year, like where are we taking this, right? Because we've addressed a lot of toxicity. What comes first, the fat cell or the toxin? I think it's evolving at such a rapid pace that everyone needs to do this cleanse. Yeah, I mean, and it's not something you do for, I know people out there promoting 5 and 6 day cleanse. It's like, why would you stop cleansing, right? You got to cleanse every day in a healthy way. It's like my kids know the answer to this question. I ask them, when's the best time to clean your room? When it's clean.
When it's clean.
That's right.
Yeah. Because when it's clean, it's a lot easier. So you want to clean your liver and keep cleaning it.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. And I actually just started taking Live Clear as well, just because I felt like, you know what? I probably just need to. So it's good.
Look at her skin. She's glowing today, as always, isn't she?
Super glowy. I have so many things over here. I'm using products. Just trying to stay as good looking as you guys,
We'll take that. Yeah,
You'll take it. That's great.
A compliment.
Not gonna argue.
Phil, we don't get a lot of compliments. So hey, anything can stick to me and Joe.
Yeah, so SPMs, and we're going to study these more, but SPMs or specialized pro-resolving mediators is what they're called. They represent a portion of omega fatty acids that actually modulate chronic inflammation. And they're very targeted because they actually help with the pathway that produces these specialized pro-resolving mediators, which are the result. And they're different than omegas. So, omega fish oil is great. They should be the basis of a good, healthy diet or, a good, healthy supplement plan. But these SPMs, not everybody can convert that omega down to these specialized pro-resolving mediators. So we've actually come out with a product that has, and I have it right here, coincidentally, because I've ordered these and I think they're fabulous, but we've come out with a product called SPM, which has not only the good marine lipid concentrate, but has the SPMs in there to help your body produce the right specialized pro-resolving mediator for the pathway that you need. So we don't need them all the time. We don't need to produce every single one at higher concentrations, but we do need them. And we could have, the resolvins, the protectins, there's all different kinds. And we're going to learn about these tomorrow and why they're so vital in your body. But it's a great product for someone that does experience some chronic inflammation, who may not be able to overcome it with things like X-Flame. Remember, nutrition is just as individualized as your diet is. So it's why there's 10,000 diet books on the market, right?
How
it's
new
because
are
there's
these?
Not one for everyone.
How new are these in the marketplace?
The last couple of years.
Yeah, they're not new in our bodies, but the discovery was this actually came out when they started to really look at fat cells. So, and that's been about since 2008, where they're looking at fat cells as their own organ system. And then all of a sudden we start this industry, trickle down effect, which is good because we want to enhance, just like Jamie was saying, there's so many adipokines or proteins that fat cells produce for us that balance hormones, regulate blood sugar, have an immune response. And within that pathway are these SPMs, these little specialized pro-resolving mediators that come from lipid health. So we need them. And, they do various things in our body. And there's SPMs in breast milk. So and they're derived from EPA, DHA, and what was the other one?
DPA.
DPA, yes. So DPA is actually in breast milk, which starts those specialized pro-resolving mediators for babies. So, the cool thing about them is we learned from Todd was they're safe and they're effective and they can be used for all ages and for all inflammatory issues. So we're going to learn a whole bunch about those tomorrow.
Another benefit of breast milk, the list is never ending, Joe.
Never.
I know. Well, think about it, Jamie. What happened in the 80s, right? 70s and 80s, moms were told that breast milk isn't good. They should bottle feed. And so we have an entire generation of people who lost toll-like receptors. That's one of the things that comes from breast milk that you can't get anywhere else. And those toll-like receptors stimulate innate immunity. And those are the things that identify viruses and bacteria even before they get to the adaptive immunity. So we lost toll-like receptors and we lost a lot of specialized pro-resolving mediators. So we have chronic disease and chronic inflammation in a generation of people that came out from late 70s and 80s. And we're seeing that result now.
When the vaccine schedule doubled.
That's right. Well, that's what happened,
80s.
right? Yeah, 1986. Yeah.
86, right.
So,
Class of 86, still the best ever.
Well, you guys
Always
were past all that.
Absolutely. So, when you look at this overall, I think the theme continues, right?
Yeah.
It's toxicity, right? I'm hearing chronic inflammation from vaccines, from lack of breast milk, from the bottle, from soda, from high fructose corn syrup, from medications, over-the-counter prescription, from fast food. So basically we have the same theme, high toxicity and low nutrient consumption, right? So what we got to do is get a balance back there. And when you get healthy, the maintenance part, if you partake in one of these activities once in a while, it's not a big deal. That's what you're supposed to at a wedding. Eat a little more, drink a little more, have fun. But like you said, Joe, earlier, this has become breakfast on Monday morning, and that's really the issue, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to have a strategy in place. Got some great feedback here. Somebody should hear this info. Who should you come to see? Look, we're here to help. All this week, you can walk right in and talk to any healthcare professionals. We will help you customize a program. We always recommend you meet with a professional a couple times. I was talking to my family over the weekend, and my daughter saying, "Yeah, I love getting adjusted by Dr. Phil." And my sister-in-law says, "You go to the chiropractor?" She says, "Yeah, since sixth grade I've been going." And this is why. She says, to keep me healthy.
Good answer.
Great answer, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, okay, that's a great answer, right? So I think people wait till they get sick or injured, but that's not working anymore. It's not working.
We're already sick and injured. FYI,
You just
everybody.
don't know it, right? You may not
That's
know.
right. It's just that we haven't figured that out yet. So yeah, and my kids, anytime they go to the chiropractor regularly, just because, just like your daughter, they're in sports, but when Luke gets sick or he starts to get sick, he says, "Mom, can I go get my bones cracked?" Because he knows that it'll stimulate his immune system. And sometimes I hear that doctors, like chiropractic doctors, won't take kids with fevers. And my chiropractor, he does a very light adjustment with them just to stimulate the immune system because he knows the body's already doing what it should. So I hope that, people aren't scared to take their kids in, when they're sick or when they have something coming on. It's important. So chiropractic is very important.
We have some new technology that would help with the anti-inflammatory response, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have right now a couple things in particular. One is the laser.
Yes.
This thing's fantastic. I was a little stuffed up last week. I used that on there. I used it on my shoulder. I was able to get my range of motion almost back to normal. So the laser is a great way to help cool down inflammation and to get you a jump start. Joe, what about the decompression bags you put on your legs?
Yeah, the compression boots.
His legs have never looked so good.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, after standing all day and you get in those boots, amazing. It's like having a blood pressure cup on your whole leg from your hip to your foot. Yeah.
I've had them all.
And it stimulates that.
Joe wears them all the way up to
all day long.
All the way up. How long? He says, "How long you want to be on here?"
Well, do you guys remember what Chancey was saying yesterday or Saturday when she was on? She was saying about the blood flow being trapped in your legs, sitting at a desk all day or standing all day. She's like, it takes away from your brain. She was like, so put your legs up so that you get blood flow back to the most important organ. And I was like, that's a really good point. So we don't think about that, but how often do we sit now? And how many people are stuck at a desk for hours and hours a day? So it's really important that we do these things to make sure that we stay healthy.
Absolutely. We have all these new therapies at the Weiner Wellness Center. So we appreciate all the support. We're adding new healthcare professionals, new therapies, new products, doing a remodel. So we're doing everything to make it bigger and better for the community.
Absolutely. Well, it's very exciting. And thank you for this discussion. Diana, if you need to make an appointment at the Weiner Wellness Center, they do virtual appointments as well. So please contact somebody there. Remember, all of the products in the store are 30 to 50% off. So stop in, call in. How can they get in touch if people want this? Oh, thanks, Phil. There's Phil.
There it is.
Thanks, Phil. There's the number, 412-922.
Super Phil.
That's right. He's doing a great job. So we appreciate him. But thanks, guys, for sharing your knowledge today. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning for morning commentary at 8:30. But you are still open. What time are we open till today at the Weiner Wellness Center?
Today and Wednesday we'll be here till 7 o'clock. So
wow, overtime.
Lots of time.
Late days there, but till 5 every other day. So bright and early at 8 o'clock.
Beautiful. All right, guys, you got plenty of time. So we hope to see you at the Weiner Wellness Center. If not, give us a call. Have a great day, everybody, and thank you so much.
Have a good one. God bless.